So learned helplessness is a researched concept. It is defined as when people, especially children, define their failures based upon their abilities. They don't define successes based upon ability. When they succeed, they conclude that external factors such as luck are responsible. They believe that their ability is fixed and not malleable. So I don't believe in luck. I believe that everything is by work ethic. Now, I will say I do believe in, divine instruction and divine wisdom on how to carry out your life, but I don't believe really in luck. That I believe in people, contributing to your life, that they might open a door for you, but it's up to you to get the work done, to walk through the door and get the work done. And luck is to say that there is no need for instruction, that you just all of a sudden was able to get that type of thing. No, the way you advance is through instruction, that someone gave you an instruction on something, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a direct sense. You could say, I want to become a writer, and then you decide to read Stephen King books, or anyone who is a successful writer. They are essentially giving you instruction on how to pursue writing and get paid for it and become famous with it, right? Their books are instructing you. Any videos they do are instructing you, right? And so luck is to say that you just so happen to become successful, or you just so happen to become good at something. Luck says there's no work needed. And so that's why I don't believe in luck, because you need the work ethic. You cannot live off luck alone, right? And so we want to talk about fixed mindset versus growth mindset, and I talked about that in a previous audio, so you should have had some exposure, but it is the changing our mindset chart. So if you can remember the changing our mindset chart from Carol Dweck, we talk about fixed mindset and growth mindset, and that people oftentimes who have a fixed mindset, they tend to avoid challenges. They believe their abilities are fixed. They are the people who believe in luck, that they lucked out. They're not going to really work hard at anything. They are the types of folks also who say, I am an A student. And they can truly be A students, but they are the types of people who won't take risks, maybe taking other classes, right, that challenge them, because they want to be able to maintain the A. And so if they take a class that's going to maybe cause them to lose their A status, they are essentially saying, I don't really want to learn beyond what I already know. So then they are also the type of people who will ignore constructive criticism. If you want to become great at something, it's going to require some mentoring and criticizing, right? There's no way around that. And so they tend to be the type of people who avoid challenges. They will get, they tend to get defensive, and it's easy to do. If you write, or if you construct anything, or you put your hands to work with anything, you value it so much to the point that it was already a hard task to create it and think about it and imagine it and then put it all into some concrete product, and then for someone to come along and say it's not good, that bothers you. And so if you have so many people who do that, then you won't respect the criticism. But you got to know the difference between the person who is saying it is not good and the person who is saying it needs work. That the person who is saying it is not good might be, sort of jealous of you, right? Here it is, you come up with something and they were not able to do the same. But the person who's saying that it needs work is saying that there are elements of it that are good, but there are elements of it that need more tightening. And that's what constructive criticism is. But the more you have spent time around people who say it is not good, you miss all the people who say that it needs work. So then, one of the questions that I pose to the students when I use this chart is, can a person change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset? And the students usually say, oh yeah, sure, yeah, a person can change, right? But we think about that from a general standpoint because we want people to change, and so we hope for them to change. However, in order for you to move towards a growth mindset, you're going to have to address the areas of fixed mindset. One of the areas that's most important, if you look at all of these rows right under the column fixed mindset, the most important row to me is the criticism row. Because you can look at yourself and self-assess and say, I avoid challenges, I need to start doing more, right? You can self-assess the failure, the idiot. I need to stop calling myself an idiot. You can kind of do that on your own. The plateau early. Any person who is, athletic and love to exercise and run marathons, they know that you can plateau and that you got to do as much as you can to get over that plateau. Those areas on this under the column are very easy. Or not easy, but it's easier for you to sort of think to yourself, I need to change. Where people often go wrong is the ignoring constructive criticism, because if you can address the fact that someone is telling you that your thing needs work, right? Even if it's hard to do, and I'm quite sure someone is going to say the same thing about what I have put together in terms of this presentation series and then the books I have written, I'm quite sure of it. But if you can get over that hump of criticism, it will open up the doors to other areas on the growth mindset chart. So yes, you can change from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset when you address the areas of the fixed mindset, or at least start with one of the roles. And I would venture to say start with ignore constructive criticism. Learned helplessness affects one's ability to manage emotion. There are two general strategies children learn when managing emotion: problem-centered coping and then emotion-centered coping. Problem-centered coping, children in middle childhood appraise situations as changeable, identify the difficulties, and decide what to do about the problem. It could be a math problem. I loved the times tables. 2 times 2 equal 4. 2 times 5 equal 10. I just love that. But I struggled in other types of areas when it came to maybe, geometry, right? And the teacher does matter. It's you who still needs to do the work, right? But there was a teacher at my high school. I went to David W. Carter High School here in Dallas, Texas. And she was Miss Ollie. Miss Ollie was the teacher, and she was sassy. She just had a way about her. She reminds you of Patti LaBelle, and you could tell that she loved the subject matter because she would put the geometry on the board. Now she'll call you out now. She'll call you and ask you to answer the question and things like that. But the way that she was so concerned about you trying to understand the information, she explained it. She put it on the board. She actually taught you, right? So when I would encounter problems with understanding how to do certain things in geometry, I just go back into the book and try to understand it and read it and everything. And I was actually, getting some A's on some of those tests. And she recognized it as such. So appraising the situation as changeable, that even though I came in not understanding whether or not I would be able to adapt, to that teaching style or to teaching in that mathematical course, as I sort of made a bad grade on maybe a first test or first exercise or whatever, I started to increase. So the situation was changeable. I identified the difficulty. The difficulty is simply just allowing time to do your work, right? And then deciding what to do about the problem, that the problem needs to be solved, right? So emotion-centered coping, this is internal and private. Children learn how to control distress. When emotional self-regulation is successful, it is reflected in a child and later in an adult as the ability to manage and control the emotional experience. So when you see somebody still throwing things, yelling, cussing people out, hitting on people, they stop coping emotionally somewhere in their childhood. And I always tell somebody, if you see someone, I call cheating acting out. I'm going to develop a blog post about that. But cheating is no different than a tantrum. It's a tantrum. It's someone falling out on the floor because they can't get their way. And so somewhere that person is stuck. They are stuck in some sort of time zone, season, or whatever, and that parent did not spank it out of them or instruct them in a better way in terms of how to cope, that you see that now expressed in their adulthood.